So we today are getting y alone. To get y alone, the purpose of that is we want to get things in slope-intercept form. And notice in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Y is all by itself. Most of the time, y is not going to be by itself. We've been nice to you and made y by itself. But there's going to be times where I'm going to say, hey, graph this line. And you can't graph it. You can't graph it until it's in slope-intercept form. So your expectation, if I say graph this line, your expectation is to know how to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So how you get y alone? Well, you move that x term. That's the first thing you do because you're really moving what's not connected. And that's why we've had all this algebra practice in the first Unit 2 and Unit 3, because you need to know how to solve a two-step equation. You need to know that to solve for a variable of choice, you move what's not sticking to it first or not connected. And then what you're going to do is divide everything by what is in front of y. Because that is what is sticking to it. So you move what's not connected, and then you move what is connected. And with y, you always end up dividing. Okay, so this first one, I want to solve for y. Y is not by itself right now. I have a 4 by it and a negative 8x by it. So according to my steps, I need to move the x term first. Well, how do you move minus 8x? Yep, plus 8x to both sides. And notice in slope-intercept form, look at slope-intercept. X is right after the equal sign. So all I'm going to do with this x term is just smush it in front of the other constant. So it's really 4y equals 8x plus 12. Always, don't go 12 plus 8x. That's not slope-intercept. Slope-intercept has the x term right after the equal sign. You just kind of slide it right in front. And then I divide everything by what's in front of y. Divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. And I get y equals 2x plus 3 after I simplify. And then you want to know what? I go one step further and I say, hey, I know why I did this. I did this because I want to know my slope and my y-intercept. So I identify, well, my slope of this line is 2 over 1 up 2 over 1 up 2 over 1. And my y-intercept is at 3. So you can easily graph it. Notice that what some kids think prior to and I always get 8th graders that are like, well, I don't need to get y alone. The slope of this line is negative 8 and the y-intercept is 12. Because they think whatever's in front of x is the slope. Well, that's true when y is by itself. But notice my slope is really 2. My slope is not negative 8. So you have to get y alone before you identify slope and y-intercept. Okay, the next one. I need to get y alone. So what do I move first, negative 2 or plus 5x? Okay, so how do I move plus 5x? I'm going to minus 5x to both sides. And I get negative 2y equals, now notice this 5x term has to go in front because it's right after the equal sign. So it's negative 5x minus 10, right? Maybe go ahead and put plus a negative 10 because the signs are going to get weird here. Make sure you're taking notes. Here. And then watch this. I'm going to go ahead and divide everything by negative 2. And then that's when signs get a little weird, so you have to be careful. Y equals, this turns ones I know positive 5 over 2 because the two negatives turn to positive. Plus negative 10 over negative 2 is a positive 5. Now again, my purpose for getting y alone is for me to say, hey, what's the slope of this line? I know it's 5 over 2. Up 5 over 2. Up 5 over 2. My y-intercept is positive 5. So I can easily graph this line, which is what we will do tomorrow. Today is just practicing getting y all by itself. That's what your target is today. Let me just double check. Notice if you thought slope was whatever's in front of x, you would have thought your slope was 5. Is your slope 5? No, say no. No, your slope is 5 over 2. So you have to know that you can't identify slope until you get y by itself. I know. Okay, I'm very bossy with you knowing what to do. Negative 3y plus 2x equals 12. I'm going to move my x term first, so that's the 2x. So I'm going to subtract 2x to both sides. And I get negative 3y left equals, now that negative 2x goes right in front of the 12. So negative 2x plus 12. And then I'm going to divide by the coefficient of y. Coefficient is number in front, remember. So divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. Be careful for your signs. This is when I usually always make sure to plus a negative to see what's going on with my signs. Y equals, is this positive or negative 2/3? Sure is positive 2/3 x plus a negative 4. So that means I have a slope of this line of 2 over 3, and my line crosses the y-intercept at negative 4. And the next one's just bumping up the rigor a little bit because you have 3 things on the same side. What do you think you would do with this one?
-8.
I would too. I would -8. I would say, well, it says here that I'm supposed to move the x term first, according to my notes that I just can't find. Okay, move the x term first. But, look, I have something else next to it. I have this 8 next to it. So I would just go ahead and move that 8 over. And then you get negative 4x. Look what I'm going to do. I'm going to plus a negative.
Oh, wow. I did not see that coming.
I did. I saw that coming. Because I knew there was going to be sign issues.
I've never done that before.
Now I'm going to move my x term. And then you get negative 2y equals 4x plus a negative 8. I still plus a negative because I'm going to divide by a negative, so I know things might get weird.
Oh my gosh.
Y equals negative 2x plus 4, because that's positive. Sure is positive. And now I can, again, why I'm doing this, the whole reason is because I want to get things in slope-intercept, so I can tell somebody what my slope is, down 2 over 1, right? And my y-intercept